Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Casty. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. Today we are going over Snakes and TBR stacks for the month of June. This is my Snakes and Ladders inspired TBR game. If you don't know how to play, the video will be linked in the description bar, which is like the first video that goes over what all the prompts are and the rules. It's pretty self-explanatory though. If you hit a snake, you go down and you add an extra roll, and if you hit a ladder, you get like a reward and you go up. That's literally all the rules you need to know. But here we are, ready to play. Before we can dive into the actual rolls, we do have to go over my TBR from last month, which I didn't complete. So essentially, if I complete my TBR, I get to do 5 rolls, and my 6th book pick is just a mood read, because I like to read 6 books a month, where if I don't complete my TBR, I have to do 6 rolls. That's all. So I have to do 6 rolls this month because I haven't even touched a lot of books on that TBR. I'm hoping this month will be better. Hoping. Because I've been failing my TBR a lot lately, and it is what it is, but I would like to maybe complete it for a month and get that mood read back, because that mood read helps a lot. And I do also want to just give a beautiful little shout out to Jess, who created this beautiful little die rolling tray for me, which you will now see in all the Snakes and TBR stacks videos. It's got a dragon on it. It's literally stunning. Jess's shop will be linked in the description bar below, and all of you should definitely go check it out. I'm obsessed with this. It's so pretty. Oh, and for this month I am doing something slightly different. My Patreons are picking my TBR. So what that means is I actually rolled yesterday, and I did all the rolls, and I picked 3 to 4 books for each roll. Gave all my Patrons from the dragon, the baby dragons, and the land dragon tiers, they all got to vote on the polls, and whatever one they picked won. I'm just gonna say now, the board wasn't nice to me, but the Patreons were. So thank you all. Love you all for being nice to me. And let's just get like right into roll 1. I'm gonna do my Cup of Chaos pull, which is Jade City by Fonda Lee, which was Annalise's pick, but I also know Maria has this picked. I think that's a good one. So we ended on Paranormal last time, so we need to roll our first roll. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Flip a coin. Okay. A TBR vet or a new release? Like new to my TBR. Okay, I went and grabbed a little bit of Canadian history. I grabbed a penny. We don't use these anymore, but I don't know how to flip a coin. Oh no! It's tails, but I didn't say what things were. Okay. Heads is TBR vet, tails is new. Are you ready? Tails! New! Yes! So with roll 1, we landed on flip a coin, and I actually went and got a coin this time instead of using a memory card. With this one, it was either to flip a coin between a TBR vet or a new TBR book, and new TBR won, which really worked well in my favor because I'm currently doing a vlog of reading some of the SPFBO, I always get that wrong, but that was correct, submissions, and all of these are obviously new to my TBR because the submissions just came. So I put 4 SPFBOs on that list, and I did warn my patrons when I said for this roll, you probably won't know most of these, but here's the covers for them. So for this roll, they got to pick from Fangs of War by E.J. Double, which I literally know nothing about. On a silent shore in a distant land, the world was coming to an end. I think it's going to be very political, maybe a little military based. Very excited for this one. Nomads of the Sea by Kobe Zucker, which is the first book in the Fish Gut Guard. I think we're going to have like a band of mercenary men come together and try to go on they're probably going on a mission, and they're gonna have to save everything. There's a civil war, so again, political. This one's a chunker though. As well as The Cradle by Ron Sammy, which I did know something about when I put it on the TBR, but now know nothing about. And In the Shadow of Rune by Tony DiBaggio, which I think the Tony DiBaggio one, this one is more like a revenge story. I'm not entirely sure. Very excited for it though. they picked Bangs of War. It won by a decent amount, and so I'm reading this one. This one's going on the TBR for the month. I'm actually quite excited for this one. This is one I really want to read. It is a little bit longer than some of the other ones, but that's okay. Okay, next roll is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A standalone. Oh god, I don't like that. And for roll 2, we landed on standalone. I hate this prompt. I hate it so much. I just am not a standalone reader other than like, I guess like thrillers or horror books or something, which I could have put the thrillers on for this one, but we want a standalone, and every single time I land on standalone, I just look over to Prairie of the Orange Tree and say, maybe this time. So of course, their options were Prairie of the Orange Tree, Sword of Kaigen, and The Cavern. So Sword of Kaigen, I literally know nothing about, but it's the one I wanted to win. Prairie of the Orange Tree, Dragon Riders, and chunky book. Scary, but I do really want to read it one day. I'm just so terrified of it for some reason. And The Cavern, which is a creature feature horror book. It's the shortest one on there. Sword of Kaigen and The Cavern I can both use for the water on the cover prompt, so that works quite well. In the end, for a long time, Prairie of the Orange Tree was winning, but in the end, Sword of Kaigen came through. The patrons were nice to me. They picked Sword of Kaigen, and we will be reading this one, which is also chunky, but I'm so excited to read that one that it doesn't feel like it's going to be super chunky. So that's our second roll. How did I miss that? 6, 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A hyped book. With roll 3, we landed on Hype, which is just a book that has to have some kind of hype for it. It has to be probably a more popular book, which I didn't want because I wanted to get more indie books on here, but of course most indie books don't have super good hype, but here we are. We're going for it. So for the options I gave them, it was City of Dusk by Tara Sim, which is the unofficial official book club pick for the month of June. So with the Late Night Crew, the Discord's linked down in the description bar below. We always pick a book every single month that the three of us are going to read on sprints together. There's no like actual live show, but we talk about it on the sprints, spoiler free, and then we talk about it in the Discord with like spoilers in like the category. So we are reading City of Dusk. I'm excited for it. So I have to read this one. Their second option was Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is the Cup of Chaos pick for the month. So I have to read this one. All my top tier patrons, my land dragons, get to put a book in a cup, and I have to read it if it gets picked. So I technically have 2 months to read this book, but if I finish it in a month, I will redraw next month. But if I don't finish it, I'll finish it. If I don't finish it this month, I will just continue it into July and then August pick a new one. But if it's on the TBR for the month, then I have to finish it this month. So another one that I have to read. Then we put on Air of Fire for them by Sarah J. Maas, which is the third book, I believe. Hopefully I'm correct. In the Throne of Glass series, which is the next book I need to read to continue this series. This series is on my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 months. I feel like I'm starting to feel the pressure that I need to read these before they self-destruct. So I need to get to this one soon. And Sarah J. Maas is so hyped, I don't think that needed an explanation. And the last book they got to choose from was Aragon by Christopher Paolini, which is a middle grade book about dragons and a world adventure and one boy. I just really want to read this book as it's such a classic for dragon literature, and you know on this channel we love dragons. So I thought it'd be a good time to put this one in because this one is such a hyped and loved fantasy for younger audience, and like I've watched the movies, I liked the movies, I've heard they're very different, and I've heard I need to go in with like open eyes because this was written when he was like 14, so it's not like the best work of literature in terms of that, but I'm just excited to try this one. To no surprise to anyone, Jade City won this. Flying colors. City of Dusk was the next closest, so again, the patrons were being nice to me because they picked books I had to read this month anyways. So I will be reading Jade City, which follows 2 families, I believe. They're like mafia fueling families, and there is a new drug on the scene called Jade, which gives people the power to like use these magical abilities. And I'm very excited. Everyone says I'm gonna love this one because it's very like morally gray characters, grim dark, and this is just fun. Exciting, and I think I'm going to love this. It's a 5-star prediction for me. Very excited. I've been putting it off forever, but seems like this is the time to read it. 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hit a snake. So, humans as the main character. And our next roll, we hit a snake. We hit a goddamn snake. I didn't need snakes this month. And the prompt is humans, which humans is quite easy yet hard all at once when I actually started thinking about books and how many don't have humans in them. But I did find a couple. So the Dragon Stable got to pick from Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill, which is the second book in the Bound of the Broken series. I loved the prequel novella, The Fall, 5 stars. The first book only got 3 stars, but I believe that the series is just going to go up from here. It gives very big Aragon vibes. We're following a boy and his dragon. There's dragon riders. There's elves, there's mages, like it's very classic fantasy, but it's done quite well, and I'm just very excited to continue the series. I want this one to win this poll, because I want to continue this series. So please, patrons. But also, in order to stack the deck in my favor, because I'm a bit of a cheater, I put Jade City on. I said to the patrons that I would either read the next, if a book that repeated in the polls won, I would either pick the second winner, or if it's something like Jade City where I can read the next book in the series, I would just read the next book in the series. We don't need to re-go over what Jade City's about, right? Because it's obviously on the TBR for the last one. And then the last book I picked for them to pick was Valor by John Gwynne, which is the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. Malice is my favorite read of the year so far. I loved Malice. I'm obsessed with Malice. Malice essentially follows a prophecy about the brightest sun and the darkest star, and one's good, one's bad, and you're following a cast of characters, and you don't really know which one's the bad one and which one's the good one, and they keep doing things, and they can easily be interchangeable to be either way of the prophecy, so you're just kind of intrigued to see how that goes along. There's an animal companion. I'm obsessed with the characters. I'm obsessed with the world. I really need to continue this series. But I still want Of Darkness and Light to win, because I really want to continue that series for some reason this month. I'm feeling it. Of course, the vote is in, and the patrons picked Valor by John Gwynne. I did myself a little bit dirty putting this on, because of course they were like, I'm gonna be really nice to you this month and give you the book you've been talking about wanting to read forever. So they picked Valor. But what I really wanted them to pick was this one, which, like, they were nice to me. Malice was 5 stars, Of Blood and Fire was 3 stars, so they picked the sequel they think I'm going to love more. But I wanted Of Darkness and Light this month. I just wanted it. Like, why? Why? My problem with Valor is not that I don't want to read it, it's that I really think I'm going to drop everything and binge the entire series once I read this one because of the cliffhanger, and I'm such a binge reader. I don't think I have time this month to binge, so I keep putting the series off because I just want to binge it. But we'll see. I might drop everything and binge, or I will struggle bus my way around not binging. Here we are. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chance! And the next roll we got Chance, which is a scary, scary, scary pick. Everything's out of my control typically, but I decided to be nice to myself.
I know I cheated here.
Honestly, I kept picking things out of the cup, and they were, because I wanted to pick a couple out of the cup and give the patron still a pick, but they kept being ones I've either already read or unhauled because I haven't updated that cup in so long that I decided to pick 3 books and let them pick. I feel like that was chance enough for me. I'm counting it, and you know, considering my TBR is completely out of my hands this month, well, not completely, but out of my hands by a bit, felt like that was nice of myself. I was being nice. Pat myself on the back. Good job, Cassidy. You're thinking about yourself. So for this one, again, I'm stacking the deck in my favor because I decided to pick all of my mandatory reads for the month were the chance pick. So I have 3. We've already seen a couple of them. We have City of Dusk by Tara Sim, which is the unofficial book club pick. We have Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is the Cup of Chaos pick. And then we have Ninth Reign. I don't remember the author's name currently. It'll be on the screen. Which is the backlist book club pick for June, with the live show being in July. Gave them all 3 of those. And City of Dusk won. How nice of them to get a required read on the TBR. Like, I gave them options here. But here we are. I'm excited. I have to read this one, so it makes sense. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Extreme Weather. And for roll 6, which is sadly not our last roll because we hit a snake earlier, we got Extreme Weather. This prompt kills me. I need to like remove this prompt off this board next year because although I love reading extreme weather books, it's so niche and it's so hard to do this prompt, and to give 4 options took a lot out of me. And in this one, there was one that I really, really didn't want to read that I thought was going to win. I was so scared it was going to win. So the options I gave them were The Girl on the Mountain by Mark Lawrence, which is the second book in the Book of the Ice series, the Book of the Ancestor series, being one of my favorites, and this is like the sequel series. I don't love this series quite as much, but it's still quite good, which is why I haven't gotten to the second book yet, because I just haven't made it there yet. This is a polar fantasy. We're literally hanging out on the ice. I really need to get to this one, so I won't be mad if this one wins. Then I gave them The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which is on my These Books Will Self-Destruct because this book literally terrifies me. Like, I am so scared to read it. My sister loved this book. I know so many people who love it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 5 stars, but something about it scares the living bees out of me. Like, I don't know what it is, but something about this book. So I really don't want this to win. But also maybe I do want it to win because then I'm forced to read it, and it's going to self-destruct in 12 months, and I want to read it before it self-destructs, because if it self-destructs, I'm just going to have to go buy it again when I want to read it. Although I do have the Audible version as well. This one's on there. I don't really know what this is about. I know that there's a 5th season that's like the destruction of the world, I think. Everyone says it's incredible, though. I need to read. The next pick for them was The Bone Shard Emperor, which is the sequel to The Bone Shard Daughter, which I loved The Bone Shard Daughter. I gave it a pretty high 4 stars. This one, hear me out, guys. There are islands that rotate, so the climate always changes on them. I felt like that was extreme weather enough for me to count it. The Bone Shard Daughter follows a world where they take like a bone shard out of every citizen and then can make magical being type things out of it. That was a terrible, terrible summary. It's really good though. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited for the sequel, so I won't be mad if this gets picked because I do need to read it, and I do have the audiobook out from the library currently. And the last one I gave them was Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey, which is the first book in the Dragon Riders of Pern novel. This is a classic. This is quite an old series. Emma, lovely Emma, gifted this to me. And this one, I asked Emma because I thought it would count. I wasn't sure it would 100% count for extreme weather, and she does say that there's like spores flying from the sky that eat organic matter. And I felt like that was enough. That was close enough to extreme weather, right? To count it. I know that this has something to do with dragons. That's literally all I know. It's short. This was the one I wanted to win. I've actually been wanting to read this for a while, so I really want this one to win. And it's so short. It would be nice to get on the TBR a short book, because look at all the chunkers I have on this so far. But of course, as the poll was going, this one was in the lead. But then, The Bone Shard Emperor came in clutch, and we will be reading The Bone Shard Emperor for June. Yes, yes. Thank you for being so nice to me. Thank you. You are the best. And I had a feeling this one wouldn't win because no one knows what it is, but I want to read it. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A short book. And for our next roll, we hit another snake. We were so close to being done. But we hit a snake. But thankfully this one, well, I say thankfully as if this isn't one of the hardest prompts for me. We hit short read. So for me, a short read doesn't necessarily mean under a certain amount of page counts, because some genres read quicker for me. So typically I just don't mean like a high epic adult fantasy. I typically count YA as a short read, thrillers, romance, anything like that. But of course also anything under 300 pages tends to be short as well. For this one, I decided to go with some thrillers. So we have The House Across the Lake, which comes out late June by Riley Sager. I'm very excited for this one. I think Riley Sager might be one of the only auto-buy authors I have. I just really enjoy either loving or hating his books, and they just read so quick. This one is a thriller following a girl who is kind of like creeping the house across the lake, and then she makes friends with them, and then the wife goes missing, and a whole mystery unravels from there. Then we have My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. I don't really know what this is about. It's about a it says Dexter meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I believe it's about a couple who's married, and to keep their marriage together, they murder together. Sounds good. Want to read this. Then we have The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, which follows a man and woman who meet at the airport, and then I think they plot to kill the woman's husband together. Apparently have a trend here. And then I put Haunting Adeline, which is a stalker dark romance thriller type thing. I think it will count as thriller and dark romance. And we're just following a guy, I think, who stalks this woman and then romance. I have read one other book by this author and I really enjoyed it. I read it in the 72 Hours in the Smut Den reading vlog, and I'm hoping to like that one as well. So for this, the patrons, I really wanted Riley Sager to win because I'm so excited to read that book, and I probably will read it in June anyways. But the one that won was Haunting Adeline, which is actually really good. They were really nice to me because I can count this for Whatever-thon for 2 of the prompts instead of just the 1. So they were nice to me, and I did want to read this anyways. It is the longest one of this bunch, but since it's a dark romance, I read those so quickly that I count it as short, even though I think it's about 500 pages. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Paranormal. Roll 8. Thankfully, we did not hit a snake, so this is the last roll. We hit paranormal, and this one was scary. I gave them options, and there was one that I really needed to get on this TBR. Really wanted to get on this TBR, and there was one that I want to read, but I don't want to read this month at all. At all. So I gave them The Ninth Reign, which I have to read. Like, it's my book club pick. I have to read this book. And I know there's vampires in it, so I count it as paranormal. But then I gave them Empire of Vampire, another paranormal, which is so chunky. I didn't read it last month. I still want to read it. I'm just so scared of it. I'm really scared this one's gonna win. And then I gave them Stolen Tongues, which is just a short horror novella that has been on so many TBRs. I do need to read this. My sister keeps asking if I've read it yet. She's waiting for me to read it and give her my thoughts, so I put it on here. Stolen Tongues follows like a couple that go to a cabin in the woods, and then there's something outside, and it seems like his wife is talking to the thing outside. Creepy. Love it. Vibes. I was so scared. People in the Discord kept coming in saying that they voted for Empire of a Vampire. I hadn't looked at the results yet. I was just sitting there like, oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I need to buy more paranormal books. Like, this was so hard to get paranormal books on here. I just please be nice to me. Thank the Lord. They ended up being very nice. And Ninth Reign won. So thank you to my patrons, because I did stack the deck in my favor in the end, I think, a little bit, but you all were nice. You could have been meaner than you were. I could have read Empire of the Vampire and Prayer of the Orange Tree in the same month. Thank the Lord, I don't have to read either. So that was Snakes and TBR stacks, but of course I am a host for Team Beach Readers for Whatever-thon, so I have to make a TBR for Whatever-thon. I am just putting all of those reads onto my Whatever-thon TBR and hoping everything fits. So those ones are all like the mandatory reads, and anything else I read for Whatever-thon is just fun and games. So with Whatever-thon, we have a bingo board, and we have 5 prompts that are different than all the rest of the bingo boards. And a book can count for 3 prompts, I believe, at once. So I'm just going to go from top to bottom. I'm trying to make it so that I can get a complete bingo in the month. So with Haunting Adeline, I will be counting that for dark romance, summer thriller, and it is a less read genre because I don't read dark romances or thrillers that often. With the Bone Chart Emperor, I will be using that for the of and has to have one of those in there, as well as continue a series and a 2021 release. I was so scared when I looked at that and I was like, oh, I don't have a 2021 release, and then my patrons reminded me that that came out in 2021, and I was like, thank the Lord, because we were like planning this all on sprints today. And then for the Ninth Reign, I will use that for recently hauled. I bought the Kindle edition this month, so I feel like that counts, as well as different format because I'll be reading it on Kindle instead of physically. And so far for that one, that's it. For Valor, I will be reading a previous TBR. It was on some of my previous TBRs. A one-word title, which is another one I was terrified I didn't have anything for, and then the patrons were like, Valor? I was like, y'all did me good with that one instead of picking up Darkness and Light. You did good. And that's it for that one so far. Then with the Fangs of War, I will be using that for favorite genre. It's a fantasy book, and it's also an indie book, which I tend to love indie books, so I feel like that counted really well. And of course, I will be using it for the indie self-pubbed prompt. For City of Dusk, I will be using that as a political fantasy, and that's it currently. For Jade City, I will be using that as a host fave. That's it currently. And then I'll be using Sorta Kagen for Water on the Cover. That completes everything for my TBR you just saw. I obviously have some open spaces, so we still have under 300 pages, color on the cover, last letter, first letter, and pull open. So there's 4 that are still open. So I had to go through and I needed an under 300 pages one, and so I decided to also try and make that one that I could do last letter, first letter with. So I went and got Rise of a Sky Pirate by L.L. McRae, which is a free prequel novella that you can get through her newsletter to try her series out. And so that's under 300 pages, and since it starts with an R, it's gonna be my last letter, first letter as well, because Fangs of War, Valor, and the Bone Chart Emperor all end in R, so that gives me 3 options to read before it, and I felt like that was smart thinking. Pull, I didn't put anything on there for, but technically all of these besides the Rise of a Sky Pirate were from a pull, so I will probably count any of them, whatever one ends up being there. And then I need color on the cover, so I figured we would do a color generator together. So when I opened it, it's on Traffic White, Generate Random Colors, Red Violet. Oh god, that's scary. The Ninth Reigns font is red, so I think that will be my color on the cover. And there is white in it. Yeah, I think that counts. Cool. So I will say for Whatever-thon, you can use every book for 3 prompts. So I will, for every single book, input 3 prompts for all the points. But this was just like to make sure I get a full bingo. This is the board that will give me that full bingo. And with that, that's all I have to say for today. And starting in June, my second part of my Patreon readathon does start. I'm just going to do a little bit of a plug for it here. And with this, you don't actually have to have partaked in part 1 to partake in part 2, but there is also an option just to do part 1 at any time, or to look back on your reads from past months and do part 1. Part 1, we found our dragon egg. Part 2, we are raising our baby dragon. So in part 2, we have 8 different traits for our baby dragon, and for the next 3 months, we have 8 prompts for each trait. We have 6 different traits. We have 8 prompts for each of the 6 traits, and you will be reading 1 book for 1 prompt and giving your baby dragon the traits you want. So you can have a really loyal dragon, you can have a very smart dragon, you can have a dragon that's really good at magic, and that's what we do for the next 3 months. And come September, part 3 starts, where our dragons go to learn their future careers. So if you would like to be part of my Patreon readathon, you can sign up June 1st to Patreon. Don't sign up now because it will charge you for May, but sign up June 1st and you will get access to the Patreon readathon. The Patreon readathon for part 2 is only available to the baby dragons and the land dragons, but part 1 was available 2 more. And the Patreon link is down in the description bar of all my videos. If you've watched this video all the way to the end and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a whale emoji. I don't know why that popped into my head, but I believe there's a whale emoji. Leave it for me. If you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are linked down below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.